The labs for developmental mechanisms in spring of 2021 are going to be a little different than they have been in previous semesters due to the pandemic. They will all be done via computer. They are going to focus on bioinformatics, specifically transcriptome assembly, analysis of transcript sequences, transcript assembly, and then transcript analysis. The first 2 or 3 labs will be a little bit of a background overview prep work, getting you ready for the more detailed, strict bioinformatics stuff. This will be new for most of you. There's going to be a learning curve on both sides because it's new for most of you. There are going to be some things that might stretch you a little bit. And also because I'm developing this for the first time this semester, it's going to be in a somewhat of a rough draft form. So if at any time you have any questions, if you're uncertain about anything, please send me an email, or even better, log on during Zoom office hours at 9:30 on Monday through Thursday and review the material, go over it with me, ask me questions. In some ways, you guys are my beta testers for this lab. So to begin with, I'm going to open up the lab syllabus. It's here in the labs folder. So if you click on the labs menu here, you have a folder for each of the 10 labs that will be done throughout the semester. And we're going to look at this lab syllabus here very quickly before we begin. Okay, so there are 3 components of the lab that I will put together to make your final lab grade. And if you remember, the final lab grade is 25% overall of your total course grade. So I'll just figure out whatever percentage you have of the lab grade at the end of the semester, and that will make up 25% of your overall course grade. So the 3 components include a weekly labs question assignment that's administered through Blackboard. This is very similar to what you're doing for the reading questions, and that link will be in each of the lab folders. My recommendation is that you do the lab first. Almost always, the questions for this reading assignment, the reading questions assignment, will come from questions that you're also answering in the lab. So the labs are going to consist, the lab that you have to turn in is going to consist of a Word document. And you'll just go through, there'll be readings in there, there'll be links to material that you need to access. Occasionally there'll be other assignments as the labs go on where you might need to download a piece of software or access a web page or do something to investigate the data that we're going to be looking at for this semester. And so at a bare minimum, you will fill out a Word document, by doing the reading in that Word document and then answering the questions. They're going to be short answer questions similar to the reading assignment questions. Don't feel like you need to write a complete paragraph, usually 1, 2, sometimes 3 sentences, but short answer for these. And I'll show you those in just a little bit. So you'll finish that up, you'll save the Word document, and then you'll attach that to the lab assignment. Sometimes, there's not one for this first lab, but sometimes there'll be additional things that you need to attach as we're going through and doing the various labs through the week. But those will be clearly outlined in the instructions for each lab. The due dates for both the questions, which is just like a quiz, and the lab assignment and any additional attachments that need to be turned on, that due date is Friday. Now, I'm giving 1 day leeway. So if you don't get them turned in on Friday, you can do them on Saturday. And as long as they're in by the end of the day on Saturday, they will not be counted as late. After Saturday, you won't be able to finish the lab questions anymore. They're kind of participation points. If you do them and give an honest attempt, you'll get full credit for them. The labs themselves that you need to attach to the assignment and turn in, I do accept them late. But every day late, every 24-hour period they're late, is 25% just right off the top of that lab assignment. So if you turn them in 1 day late, the max you could get on it would be 75%, 2 days is 50%, 3 days is 25%, and so on. So please don't turn them in late, get them in on time. In addition, I highly, highly recommend, and it's in the notes down here, I highly recommend that you get them done, at least start working on them earlier in the week. I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway for this first lab because I'm still catching up and getting everything online. But so if you do need some extra time, I might give you a little bit of leeway for the first lab. But after this, you just need to get them in. And if you're working on them on Friday, you might have troubles or are not certain about how to do some of the parts of the lab or how to answer some questions, then you may just be out of luck. I might be around Friday. If you catch me, you'll be lucky, and we can go over it. I'm not going to purposely avoid you on Friday, but it's much better to show up to office hours on Wednesday, right, or even Thursday. Go through it, review it, so then you can complete it, get it in on time, and not have any points taken off. At the end of the semester, the last week after lab number 10, there will be a lab final. All multiple choice, fairly short, 50 questions. To make it easy on you, well, depends on how well you do with the other labs. The lab final will all be questions that you have seen before, pretty much word for word, maybe modified slightly for format, but pretty much word for word from the questions that are in each lab. And so if you go through and you know those answers, you can even keep copies of them and have them there with you. As you're taking the final, you should be very, very well prepared for that lab final. Okay, and so that will be 20% of your overall lab grade. Just some notes here. Some of these things I've already talked about, but just to reiterate, you won't have a lab group, but if you'd like to work with partners, that's fine. Just make sure you understand the work and you're doing it yourself and not just getting it wholesale from partners. That will come back to bite you in the end. So you have to complete everything in the lab, work on it together, go back and forth. That's great. But if you rather and you feel better working independently, that's fine also. You will be assigned to small groups. And when we get to the part where you're actually going to be looking at data, you'll all have the same assignments, but you'll be working with different starting data. Now, the focus of this lab will be the assembly, quality control trimming, and then assembly and analysis of brand new transcriptomes. We're going to be working with insects, and so in the next lab, we'll get to know insects as a group a little bit better, and you'll get some background with that group. And so if you'd like to reach out to the people that are assigned the same data as you, that's fine. But you could also reach out to somebody, if you have a friend or just an acquaintance in the class that has different starting data. That works out also. You just, you'll be using the same methods and have slightly different end results because you're going to have different starting data. So again, there's going to be a learning curve, both on your side and on mine. So make sure you communicate. If you get stuck, please reach out to me. That's not an issue. In fact, this will be, I think, a good experience, and I think that you'll have a really good background in this type of work, which is applicable in other areas of molecular biology. And it's something that a lot of undergrads, there aren't very many undergrads that get this type of experience. It's usually reserved for graduate level. So we'll make it accessible. Hopefully you'll learn a lot, both in how to do things and in the theory and concepts behind what we're doing. So to end up, let's just take a quick look at lab number 1, just so you can get familiar, kind of see what you're going to be faced with. So this is a Word document. This is what you have attached to the lab assignment. You'll go through, do the reading assignments. There's some diagrams that will help you. There are links to certain resources that you're asked to watch or go over. And then you have questions with spaces for an answer. So why is it necessary to represent only one strand of the chromosomes in a sequenced genome? And you can answer this. And again, they don't need to be long. You can say, because if we know the sequence of one strand, the complementary strand is a given. This is just referring to the idea that DNA is double-stranded, so it's kind of redundant to put the sequence for both strands, since one side always matches its complement on the other side. So those are the sorts of things. Like I say, most of these 1 or 2 sentences is more than enough. Don't feel like you need to write an essay, write a paragraph. You should have more than enough with 1 or 2 sentences. Some just, short sentence like this, okay? So make sure you answer the question, but don't go overboard. All right, so once you complete this lab, answer all the questions, you will just save your Word document wherever you want to save it, and then you'll attach it to the assignment. That's fairly straightforward. Most of you are familiar with that, but to do that, you'll just go to the folder for the lab. You would click on the lab itself. Okay, here's I need to attach it still, but the attachment will be right here. You'll download it, work on it, and then all you need to do is reattach it as the assignment. Whichever one it is, there we go, and then submit it. Occasionally, there will be other things that you'll need to attach also with the assignment for completion. With this first one, it's just the lab itself that needs completed. Okay, you hit submit and you're done. And now the only other thing is, remember, also in this lab folder for lab 1, after you've completed the lab, there will be reading questions. Now, if you've completed the lab, you can just keep that document open and probably just cut and paste your answers. Most of them will be identical. I think there are 4 questions for the lab questions. Most of them will be identical to those questions you've answered on the Word document here. So all you need to do is cut and paste your answers from there into the lab questions quiz. And again, make sure you get that done by Friday's the deadline, but Saturday, if you get it done by Saturday, you'll be fine also. Okay. If you have any other questions, if anything's not clear or any problems as you're going through the lab, please make time to see me. You can email me, and I try to get to those quickly, but your best and most thorough way to get a question answered is to make some time to log on during Zoom office hours. That's 9:30 Monday through Thursday, or to make an appointment with me so that we can meet via Zoom and go over any material that you have questions